All right, guys, can you hear me? Let me start sharing my screen now. So,
Yes, we can hear you.
all right, good. I just have to be sure I'm not talking to myself. That's all. All right. Okay. I think we are good. You guys can see my screen, right? I hope you guys can hear me clearly. So we begin.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So we will be introducing React in this particular lecture or in this particular class. So I'm just going to look over here doing that. I'm just trying to take a full down with all our React apps or the React app we're going to use for today is going to be home. So call it demo class. All right. So last time I think that was on Tuesday. The last class we had for those who are not here with us, we had um, an introduction, or I'm not going to call that introduction. It's going to be, I think it's better I call that a history about React or what's brought about React in the first place. And that was the fact that uh, the web development industry needed something that was versatile, something that could allow you, give you the freedom to do as you please. Okay, so in our last class, we were able to differentiate the difference between a framework and a library. Okay, and I think that was where we did explain very well why React, being the way it is, should actually be used more because React is versatile. So about that, I think we discussed that a while. I also discussed how React is actually flexible, what React actually gives us, the virtual DOM and all of that. So today we'll actually be diving deeper into code and seeing how we can actually use React in a project, okay, or how we could actually build a project with React. I think first of all, to do that, um, I'll just open my terminal here. Okay. For those of us who are not Linux users, you're going to have to use your Windows, so your Windows command prompt. Okay. Also, if you can, you could also use your Git bash too. I think that also works. So whichever one you prefer using. Okay. So to get started, first of all, you need to make sure that you have Node.js, and in fact, you need to make sure you have Node.js installed on your system, because with Node.js actually comes with Npm. Hello guys, sorry, please help us. All right, thank you. Um, Mute your mic if your mics are unmuted, please. I don't know if you guys can still hear me very well. So, as I was saying, you need Node.js installed on your system to be able to work with React. And you need that because you're going to use a package manager, uh, npm. But in recent times, you're going to be using something more recent called npx, which is more like uh, a quick action package manager, if I should put it that way. So the difference between npm and npx is the fact that with npm actually installs the project for you. But meanwhile, npx not just installs, it installs and it executes it for you at once. So that's why I call it a quick action package manager. Although npx is like a package inside npm. So you could either use npm or you could use yarn depending on the one you want to use. Okay. So throughout the course of this tutorial, I'll be using npx or npm where the case may be. So as you've seen, I've already created the folder which I want to actually use for this project, which is this demo class. Okay, so I open my folder inside here. Sorry, I open my terminal inside here. So for those who aren't, for those who are using, who have Git installed, who have Git bash, you could still do the same thing I did. So you could just create your folder, okay, in your project, whichever. You create your folder, and then you could right click in that empty folder there, and then you could just click on git bash here, and I think it's going to open a git bash with the current directory in which you're in. Okay, something like that. Okay, enough talk, and for those who don't really know, so creating a react app, okay, this is what you do. All right, so I think for, for creating a React app, you need to use npx. So you do this npx create React app, and then space the name of the React app you want to create. Okay. So for this particular class, I'm not going to be creating any name because uh, this particular folder is supposed to be a demo to actually introduce React so that I can actually explain components and everything for you guys. So uh, actually there are ways in which you can do this. So let's say I could actually create something like this, create React app, npx create React app, and I could do demo. Now doing this, it's actually going to create a folder and it's going to install the boilerplate code for React app together with all the configurations of both Webpack and Babel inside this demo folder. Okay, and it's going to create everything for us. I think the guys at Facebook, the developers at Facebook really made it easy in such a way that creating a React app is not going to be as tedious as you think it's supposed to be. In fact, it made it very simple and they optimized it so that in any kind of project you're working on, the boiler template code could be a starting point for you working with your React app. Okay, so we could actually do that, or there's another way. I could just put a dot and forward slash. And what this is actually going to do is that it's going to create a React app inside this particular demo class folder that I am in at the moment now. But mind you, if I did this, if I said demo here, it will create a React app inside, it will create a folder called demo and create the React app inside the demo folder. But that's not what I want. I want to create a React app inside my demo class, okay, which is the current folder which my terminal is actually installed in. So I do npx create React app and then dot and then forward slash and I enter. So this is going to take a while. Okay, it's already started. So while this is actually going on, um, I don't know, let's do a little bit of engagement. Okay, so on the chat, if you can, if you've actually worked with React before, I'd like you to just put an indication or give an indication that you've actually used React to work before. Okay, so I think while our application is still installing. So we could actually just get to do a little chit chat. Uh, can you guys hear me very well? Okay, okay, okay. Looks like we have a lot of people who have used React. Um, so I was saying if you've actually used React before, just indicate in the chat. So I know those who have used React and I know those who haven't used React before. Like when I say use React, like you've used React to create a demo project before, okay? All right. Um, let's see. Okay, okay. About using React, sorry, about using Linux. I think it's a matter of choice. Okay, so whichever you choose to use, there is no problem. Okay, but I think I've been using Linux for a while now, and it's beginning to be second nature to me. Okay, this answer is actually directed to Ayomide Paul. So I've been using Linux for a very long time now. I think yes, as long as I can remember, and it's kind of like second nature to me. So although, well, to me, in my opinion, I think Linux is actually a very good OS for development if you are willing to take up the risk to, I must say take up the risk, that stress of learning the command line very well. Yes, Linux would be a very good OS for you to use. Okay. There's no really there isn't any advantage over Windows and Linux in any way. Both OSs are actually good. So it's just a matter of preference, what you prefer to use. Okay. Um, I think our React app has finished installing. Okay, so the next thing I do is that I have to open VS Code. Okay. Can you guys still hear me? Still loud and clear. Am I very clear? All right. So opening VS Code.
The sound is really
Okay. All right. Opening VS Code. All right. And then I think I'm going to start my React app. Okay. All right. So this is my VS Code, and then starting my React app, npm Start, and I am sure most of us are actually familiar with this particular process. So, all right. So, while this is actually running in the background, let's actually discuss a little on what we have on our VS or in our VS Code. I think let's start with that. So, for those who haven't used React before, this is a boiler template code of React. So, meaning that this is the basic structure of a React app. This is everything you need to have a basic React app, okay, or start with actually. Okay, so I'm going to be going over the folders and the files of this app one by one. Okay, so I think I'll just be giving a brief introduction and explanation of them. I'll start with the package.json file. Now, inside the package.json file, this is where you have everything that has been installed in your React app that you're actually going to use for your React app. In fact, everything you're going to install now or that has been installed actually comes up in your package.json. So it's not like telling you everything that's actually used in building your React app. Okay, I think our server is live, but that's not the issue for now. Okay, so now the package.json file serves a particular purpose. So let's say, for example, you're working on a project with someone. Okay, the package.json file is going to be kind of like the map where another developer can actually see what is used in your app and knows what to do. Okay, and knows which packages you use in creating your app, and then you could actually install those packages because using the package.json file, okay, and npm. I think this package.json file actually comes with npm, okay. So it's not like saying these are the things that npm actually installs, okay. So inside it, you have the name of your app, the version, the dependencies used, and as you can see, we have React here. This is version 17.0.2. Um, we have the React DOM, and this React DOM is actually the engine that is actually used to, which is actually used as the virtual DOM, which React use in turn to actually manipulate the browser's DOM. Okay, so everything has to happen in the virtual DOM first before React actually moves it to the browser's DOM. Okay, because if you remember in the last class, I said React actually does a lot of things for us. So React doesn't let us play with the browser DOM. Actually, React gives us a virtual DOM or a dummy document object model for us to use. And when we make changes to the React website, to our React project, React checks the changes that we make and goes and effects those changes at the particular place where it's actually changed in the browser DOM. Okay, and then we also have React scripts. Now, these React scripts are scripts that have been actually compiled to actually make building a React project a lot easier. And we have already used one of them. And that's the Npm Start. Okay, so these scripts actually run using Npm, or if you're using Yarn, then you could do Yarn Start, Yarn Build, Yarn Test, Yarn Eject. Okay, so I'll just briefly explain what these scripts do. So Yarn Start is what we use for starting our React project and making it show in the browser. I think like we just did here. So if you can see my screen, you see that a React project is currently running. Okay. Now npm build, the build script is actually used to optimize our React app so that it can run on a live server or on the internet on our browser. So once you do npm build, it's actually going to take the folder, everything here, and it's going to minimize it in such a way that like it's going to remove all the unnecessary files and folders that we have, and going to optimize our React app so that it's not just runs on the browser, but it also runs very fast on the browser. Now, this test script here is actually used for testing our React apps, okay? And then eject is actually used for uh, unbundling things that we have built using npm build. So eject is kind of like undoing a build, okay? But it is not advisable for us to do npm eject, as it might actually kill our React app. And trust me, even top developers don't usually do this because it's always very difficult to fix. So npm inject is not something I would actually advise anyone to do at this point in time. Okay, so we'll start from the top of the folder. This is our node modules folder, where everything that you see inside the package.json is actually a package that is actually helping our React run very well, like I said earlier. But those folders are actually inside the node modules folder. As you can see, the node modules folder has a lot of packages inside, lots of folders, and all these folders here are actually used to make React function very well. Okay, now after this we have the public folder. Now the public folder is a folder where everything we're supposed to be working with, or this is the public folder contains the actual file or the HTML file in which our React app is actually going to be so how do I put this? It's actually going to be rendered in. Okay, so if I open this, this is what we have. So now this is a regular HTML file, and okay, I'll just take away this comment so it doesn't look so bogus to us what we have. All right, this is just a regular HTML file with nothing inside. Okay, but the thing is, this HTML file is very, very important. Okay, because it is inside this file that everything about our React project is going to be able to be read by the browser. All right, so let me explain what I mean. You could actually change this title to whatever title you want to change it to. So this is a fave icon. I think you already know what a fave icon is, and this is the React logo. And then this manifest.json is actually used when you want to make a web app or a progressive web app. So all those settings have actually been done. Like I told you, this is a boiler template code. So everything we need to work on any kind of project has actually been done in this boiler template code. All we just have to do is just start, doing our project. And this manifest.json is also one of those files that we need because it actually helps us make a progressive web app. So whereby our browser could actually catch data if it is offline, and then when it's online can actually post those data to the server. Okay, in other words, whether we are online or we are offline, we could actually still be using a website as long as it's a progressive web app. So, and the file that actually makes it possible is the manifest.json. Okay, so I think that's that for the public folder. So I am actually going to open the source folder. Now the source folder is kind of like the powerhouse of a React project or a React app because it is inside the source folder that everything that we are going to be doing is actually going to be inside. So starting from the top, it's going to be the index.js. Now, like I said, from the index.html file, we actually link our React app using this div with the ID of roots. Now, this roots can be anything. It's not necessarily that it has to be roots. We could call it whatever it is we want to call it. Okay. So I could change this from roots to swim. And all I just have to do is I come down to index.js and change here from roots to swim. Okay. And if you go back to the browser, we'll still see that our React app is still running. So all I'm trying to say is that this is the link to, this is what links our React app. Okay. I think I prefer using roots. It's a whole lot more generic. Okay. So yeah, and this is set. All right. So as I was saying, this is the link to our React app. So we have ID of root. Now this is where our React app is actually being linked. Okay. So this is React DOM.render. Now, let me actually explain the lines of code that we see here for those who don't understand. Okay, for those who understand, don't worry, just chill. This is just a beginner class, okay, an introduction. So don't really bother yourself about it. But we definitely need to explain these things to those who actually don't know what it is. Even for those who know, you might not necessarily know why they are the way they are actually. So um, the first line import React from React, import React DOM from React hyphen DOM. Now these two are kind of like the powerhouse of what we need, because without these two, this whole app will not function. Okay, so this is the React engine, and this is the React DOM that serves as a virtual DOM that actually um, that is used to modify the browser DOM per se. I think I've said this a couple of times now. Okay, so we have our CSS file, which is the index.css, and we have our app.js file, and this app.js file is kind of like the entry point where everything we do is actually starts from the app.js kind of. Okay, all right. Now, inside this React DOM.render, what we have this React.strict mode. Now, this React.strict mode is simply to actually tell us that whatever it is we are doing, okay, let me explain this very well. Let me open the package.json. Now, from the package.json, you see that React is actually in version 17.0.2, and in subsequent time, it is actually going to go further than this. But then, that actually tells us that there was actually a point in time when React was at a lower version. Okay, now that means that people must have actually built projects with a lower version of React. Okay, so what this this React.strict mode does is that it's saying, since app.js is actually our entry point for our React project, whatever that is going to be built inside app.js or that's going to be linked to app.js has to be the standard, the modern, and the current syntax that React actually agrees. So it's more like saying in ES6, you're using a strict mode for your JavaScript, okay? So React actually tells you, okay, fine, this particular syntax or this particular line of code is actually what you're supposed to use, okay? Not the depreciated code, okay? So what this particular line of code is actually doing, this whole line of code here is doing is that it's telling us that React is actually going to be monitoring our code to make sure that we do not write any depreciated code. And it's actually going to link all this code to the element that has the ID of root, and that is in our index.html, which is this element here. So everything we do in our React app actually comes down to this ID of root and it stays there. Now, if we do not know that, let me show you that. If we come to our browser and inspect elements, we are going to see that inside our body tag, we have this div with the ID of root. And as I'm hovering on it, you see that the whole browser is highlighted because everything we're doing is inside the root div. Okay, the div with the ID of root. Okay. Yes, blessing, you're correct. Yeah, like use strict in any JavaScript file. Yes, that's what that React.script, that React.strict mode does. Yes, that's it. So, sorry, back to what I was saying. I just saw that in the chat. The div with the idea of root is where everything we're actually going to be working on is going to be inside. Okay, so I just wanted to open the console or the browser debug to show us that, so we know what we are actually dealing with. Okay, so now inside this, okay, this is what we have now. Opening the app.js, I think now we see everything that's actually being installed inside or okay, I'm not going to say installed, but what is actually being imported in it. Okay, so these files that are being imported, like the logo that you're seeing here, it's this import logo from logo.svg, and this is this React logo, okay, and this import app.css, it's our CSS file which carries the styles that we use. Now inside this, I think when I was actually coming online for the second time, I overheard Mr. Chilo telling us something about using React hooks. Okay, I'm no longer using functional components because React hooks now seem like a thing that is actually. Uh, sorry, Mr. Daniel, please unmute. Sorry, mute yourself so you don't get us distracted. Okay, so yes, as I was saying, React hooks are actually what is in vogue, and React hooks work very well with functional components. Okay, so this is actually an old way of writing components. So I'll just change this to uh, an arrow function, yes, six function. Okay, so I think this is more like it. So this is an arrow function. Well, it doesn't really make any difference whichever one you use. Okay, it makes no difference. But just for the fact that we are doing some, let's just say I want to use this arrow function. Okay, we're talking about ES6 here, so at least let's use the arrow functions more. Then breaking this down. Now, if you notice something, you see that you're seeing something like class name, something that looks like HTML. Okay, this, and they're seeing some unfamiliar attributes. Okay, for some people, this is class name. Okay, class name everywhere. Okay, now, and this class name is actually due to the fact that this is JSX. Okay, this what we're seeing here is not regular HTML. No, it is not regular HTML. It is in fact called JSX. And what JSX stands for, JSX actually stands for JavaScript HTML, sorry, JavaScript XML. Okay, now JavaScript XML, and it's actually a lot easier to write, and it actually helps us to use HTML in React. Okay, so with using JSX, JSX is not HTML. I have to say that again so that we get it. JSX is not HTML, but then it is like HTML. Okay, so it's like a look alike. Some things are different, and one of those things are what you're seeing here with the class name. Okay, so normally in HTML we would use classes. Okay, just like this. But if we do this, React is actually going to return an error for us. Okay, and if you go back to our browser and check, to refresh, we'll see that there should be an error somewhere. Let me see. There's actually going to be an error, and that error is actually going to be because class is actually a reserved keyword in JavaScript, and we can't use class like this inside JavaScript. So the developers actually came up with a way of actually doing that, and what they came up with is using class name. Now, class name is kind of like a substitute for classes in HTML. Okay, and if you look at the JSX sample that we have here, this is a link that links us to um, React documentation, which is this. Now, this div with the header class, app header that has this logo. Now, this is the logo, and this is the paragraph we have. Okay, so it's kind of like HTML. Yes, I know that, but it's not HTML, and I think we can actually see that. Okay, so we could actually do something about this. Okay, we could actually work on this. Okay, let's see. Since we're already here, we could actually make changes. Okay, to this file. I think one of the things we could actually do is that we could actually take all of this out. Let's uh, let's just put something inside. Let's just say the H1 and basically the good old hello world. All right, so doing this is what we have. So basically we've actually changed what our file has at the moment. So this is what we have, and all of this code is actually being made possible because of this app that's actually being linked here. This is our app.js file. This is where it's actually being rendered, okay, from our React app. And so that's how we could actually see it from our browser, okay? And about that, so I think let's continue, let's go on. So, like I said, with um, with JSX, now JSX is unlike it's not HTML, but it's like HTML. So can you guys hear me? Hello, can you guys hear me?
We are hearing you clearly, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. I just need to confirm so I know I'm not talking to myself. All right. So as I was saying, now this is JSX. So now why do I say this is not like HTML? Now this is one of the reasons why I say so. So because this is JSX, we could do something. Okay, we could say const name equal to, let's see, we could use a string and could just say blessing. Okay. Okay, let me do this very well. All right, so now we could do this and we could just come here and call this name. Okay. Now, if we save this and we check it out, you see that it actually shows us the blessing. So I don't know if you guys can see this. Now, this is one of the reasons why I said this is JSX and it's not HTML. Now, you cannot do this in HTML at all, and that's because, and the reason why we can actually do this is because this is kind of like HTML wrapped inside JavaScript. Okay. Now, if this was not wrapped inside JavaScript, this would not work. That's why we can actually call this variable from this particular position and it actually works for us. Okay. Now, I think this is a little bit of introduction into JSX. Now, with JSX, we could actually do a lot. Okay, so we've actually seen one. Okay, and we could actually do this. Let's say hello blessing, and I let's say I am okay. Sorry about that. All right, you just All right. Now we can also come here and we can also say front age equal to 20. Now if we save this and we check, we see that what we are doing is actually being populated. Okay. All right. So now this is one of the reasons why this is not just it. Now, one of the reasons is that we can also compute expressions in JSX. Now, when I say expressions, what do I mean? We could do something like this. Okay, we could just say um, we could do this, and if we save this, you see that we get the answer. Like we could do anything at all that is we want to do. Let's say we could have we do this, and we'll definitely get a response. So whatever it is that we do, okay, we will definitely get a response because this is just X. This is not HTML. Okay, I think I have tested that point enough. Also, uh, we could do things too. We could also add HTML. We could also use HTML to do this, to actually add this. Okay, so what do I mean? Let's say, for example, uh, we want to add a list. I'll just say const fruits is going to be equal to okay. Right guys, I'm trying to look at the I'm looking at the chat at the moment to see if there's any question or so. All right. So const fruit is going to be equal to this. This is what we have. I have banana. Is that how they spell banana? Yeah. Okay. Then we have another one. We could have pineapple. Okay. And inside this, we could still have something else, which we could let's say berry. Now we could actually come down here and we could do this. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I think that was the last message. All right. So let's see. This is supposed to work. Um, okay. Coming. Okay. So we could just call fruit inside here. Okay. And as you can see, it actually populates. So JSX is a whole lot more dynamic than HTML and CSS. Okay, like JSX makes us do a whole lot more. Now, imagine we were using React to actually do the projects, the startup project that those who didn't join us for KodeCamp 1.0 were given to do. Okay, so this would have been a whole lot easier to do it with, I know. Okay. All right. Okay, so we also have other things that JSX could actually do for us. Okay, but one thing we have to actually, okay, sorry about that. One thing we have to actually take note is that there has to be one element that is actually going to serve as a wrapper to cover all these other elements. Okay, so what I mean is this: we can't come outside this div with the class name of app, okay, beneath it, and then do this. We can't come and do this now. Already React is already crying to us that this is an error, because this is not how React is actually supposed to be. We cannot do this. This will not work. Okay, this is very wrong syntax. Okay, already VS Code is already telling us that we are actually on the wrong path. So this can't work. Okay, so this is the best way to actually write a React app. Please do not make that mistake of saying you want to actually add. If you want to do that, the best way to actually do that is to use what's called a React fragment. Okay, so a React fragment is like this. Now this is a React fragment. Now with this, you could actually write a ton of things inside. Okay, but you can't use an HTML element the way it is, or you can't write JSX like this. Now this will work, but if you take off this React fragment here, it will not work. Okay, so I'd like you guys to actually note that down. Okay, so I could actually come here and I could just say okay, so with this will work. Now if we go to, yeah, okay, you see the div here, welcome to React. Now this is actually on this side because it's not inside the class with the name of app. Okay, okay, so I think that's that about JSX. uh Basically it's actually very easy to work with. Okay, it's very easy to work with, and it's very good. Okay, now we could do a lot. We could do conditional rendering with React. Okay, we could do a lot with JSX. I think I'm not going to stress that further, but I would just want to dive into something else and discuss a whole lot more. Okay, uh, I think we'll just dive in a little bit into components. Okay, uh, before we actually do that, let's see. I'll just create something like right now. Um, let's see. Uh, Now, where is our app.js or our app.css? This is our CSS file. Okay, so now we've actually discussed um, how or what JSX is and how we could actually use JSX, which I am sure you guys actually understand. Uh, Also, blessing, thank you very much for the music. I know they help me decode the go well, sha. So, as I was saying, let's try doing something a lot more, something we haven't done. Okay, so this is what I will say. Okay, let's say for example, we want to create a list of cars. Now, these cars are actually going to take up someone's name and the person's job position. Okay, so I'd like you guys to give me some suggestions. Someone's name and a job position actually. So let's say, for example, we want to create something. Now, one thing I would like to also address, okay, I think I'm actually going to get to that too, and that's the issue that people have, which is the difference between a file that is .js and a file that is .jsx. Okay, most times people usually get that. How do I put it? People usually get that confusion. Like, what is the difference? People are always curious. What's the difference? Now, the difference is that with a .js file, that is a JavaScript file, strictly JavaScript. Okay, anything you're writing inside that is JSX, there is no emet abbreviation for you, or at least it doesn't come like that. But with JSX, you're sure that you can get emet abbreviation. Okay, now what do I mean by emet abbreviation? Now, this is what I mean. Let's say, for example, I want to create a div with a class name of card. So in HTML, I will do this dot card, and it will work same as here. Okay, now, and this is what I mean. Now, most times this doesn't work on your JS file. Okay, this usually works more on JSX than JS. Now, let's say, for example, I create this, and inside here I just create a div, and I'll say card title and multiplied by 2, and inside here I'll just say description. Now I'll this to h5. Okay, so now inside here I'll just say, okay, Franklin, description. I'll just say I am a front developer. Okay, now we could just go to our CSS, although I know this is not about CSS, but I think I just need to style that card a little just to show something. So I think underneath here we could say card, and we could just do a border and say 1 pixel solid start df. Let's see DDD. Okay, and just give it a border radius of like 10 pixels. I'll just give it a padding of like 15 pixels, and we'll give it a margin of 10 pixels. Okay, so this is just a basic style. I'm just trying to show you guys here. So when the card comes out, you actually see the card the way it is. Okay, so now this is what it looks like. Okay, I think we need to give it a width. Okay, so okay, we just give it a width. Just give it a width of 30%. Nice. All right. So if you look clearly, you'll actually see this. Let me do something. Give it more margin. All right. So you could actually see this. Franklin, I am a web developer. Okay. So now this is the card. All right. Now, one of the things why JSX is actually very easy to use, like I said, is that we could actually use it this way. Okay, so we could actually copy this, okay, and we could paste it a couple of times. All right, and we could change this. I could just say Justus. I am a professional DJ. Okay, say this. I could say smile. Okay. I could just say Aristotle. I mean, okay. Okay. Um, okay, and I could say name is Leo and love Juliet. Okay, so I think we have this. All right. So now this could be tedious. Okay, now this is not much, but at the moment, so imagine we are actually building a list of cards. Let's say, for example, working on let's say a photo gallery or something, where we have to display multiple cards, to on the interface. Okay, and all we just want to do is display these cards. Now, it could come to a point, at this point, our contents are not much. So yes, we could actually just keep writing them on our own little by little, okay? But at some point, it could get tedious. Let's say, for example, we want to add more. We just come here and, copy this div and paste again, and now start changing card title and card description again. Now, doing that is going to be a lot tedious, okay? Now, and that's one of the reasons why React or frameworks these days, libraries and frameworks these days are trying to help our lives and make it a lot easier for us. And that's because these things actually give us a little bit of edge, okay? Now, what do we mean? Okay, sorry, I just saw a message. Okay, good evening. I think that's from IJ. Even when I use image on the .js file, it works, and the .js file works too. I'm a bit confused. Okay, all right. So I was saying that, uh, IJ, if you can hear me, I said that sometimes there's always this confusion that Emmet abbreviation doesn't work on .js files, but it works on .jsx files. Okay, and I was actually trying to clear the air, saying that it's actually works on .js files, but it depends on what you're actually doing to actually make it work. Okay, so if you're actually writing inside your return statement, okay, inside your return statements per se, okay, and you're using JSX for that, it will work. But you can't write JSX, you can't use Emmet abbreviation where you already have JavaScript. Okay, now if you take a look at this app.js file, you're going to find out that we haven't really put more JavaScript into this. All we've just been doing is just JSX from beginning to the end. I don't know if you get me. So this will actually work. JSX will work here very well. Emmet abbreviation will work here very well because most of what we are actually writing here is just JSX. Okay, we haven't added any vanilla JavaScript yet into it, so there is no need for us to panic. You're actually on the right track if you use Emmet abbreviation on a .js file and it works, and use it on a .jsx file, it will also work. There's no confusion there. You don't have to be confused. What I was trying to actually iron out was that on a .js file, it will work as long as what you're using it is inside, as long as you're using it inside a JSX components, whatever. I don't know if you get my point. But if you want to use it on a .js file that is just JavaScript alone, it won't work. Okay, that's what I mean. Now, as I was saying, uh, let's say we have this list of cards. Now, inside these cards, we have this, and we don't want to keep repeating this. There is something we could actually do, okay? And that's populating the list. Now, let's say like this. We could actually change this to say const. We'll call this persons. Now, inside this persons, we could have an array of objects, and what could be inside this array of objects, we'll just call it let's say we could say name. Okay, sorry, could have this name, and first name is all right, and we have description, which is this, and that's going to be, sorry, just copy this, paste this inside here. Okay, and let's see, copy this and 2, 3, 4. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one. All right, so take this off. And take this, paste here. Okay. I have this, and take this, and this is where we paste it. Okay. And then next is this. And this is what we have. All right. Okay, so now we have this. Now, what I'm trying to say is we could actually use JSX, okay, seeing that JSX is a whole lot more dynamic. We could use it and we could render lists in less than a couple of seconds, or okay, if I should put it that way. But then how do we do that? And this is how we do it, okay? We use the .map. How do we do that? So we actually use the curly braces first, open that, and we get the persons array. So we could just say persons.map. Now I want you to notice a convention that I am using. Okay, so the first time I actually created a list of contents or a component using a list, I did this, I called it fruits. Okay, this is what I did. I said equal to, and I used the brackets or the parentheses. Okay, and inside it, I was able to add this URL, and then I was able to do li and the rest. Okay, Now, I want you guys to notice that this is not curly braces, okay? This is curly braces. This is parentheses. Now, in React, we use parentheses, okay, to return the JSX, all right? Now, I'm saying that because you're going to see a convention. Normally in JavaScript, when you say .map, okay, when you say .map, you're supposed to do it this way, like this. Sorry, you're supposed to do it this way. Then inside this, you're going to have your person, and then you're supposed to have curly braces here, which then your function is actually supposed to go in, or this is supposed to go in, which is the div class with all of this supposed to go in. But the reason why this will not work is because in React, we use parentheses, not curly braces. Okay, so what I'm trying to say, this is what we use here instead. This, okay, and now inside this, we can now paste this in, and we could actually squish this a little to make it look nice on the eye. All right, so uh, so this now, and then for each of these cards, we want to add a card title. So adding a card title, this is, you could say person dot name, and then could also say person dot description. Now saving this, and let's check. Now you see that we still have this list of cards, but we want to look at something. If we go to our console and inspect element, we get an error here. Okay, now this error is saying, warning, each child in a list should have a unique key prop. Okay, now what that means is what I've been actually trying to uh, pass down since. Now, the reason why React is actually telling us this is because it actually needs something. Okay, remember when I told you guys that React actually gives us the virtual DOM to work with, and React doesn't let us touch the browser DOM. Rather, any change that's actually supposed to be done will be done in the virtual DOM, and then React itself will handle the task of um, you know, modifying the browser DOM on its own. Okay, now as I was actually saying that, okay, now this is a live application of what I was actually trying to explain. Now, what I mean is this: React actually giving us this warning. It actually means that React does not really get everything that's actually on this page. Now, why do I say React does not really get everything that's on this page? Now, React needs something like an identification for each element that's on this page that's rendered in a list, so that whenever there's a change or something is added, React knows what is being added, and React knows how to track those changes and knows what to do. Now, uh, that's why I said, that's why in one of the key features of React, it is said that React does not let us touch the browser DOM. React is one that makes those modifications itself. But how is React going to know that there has been a change on the virtual DOM if it does not have a way of keeping track of what is in the virtual DOM? So I don't know if you guys are actually getting the point. All right. Okay. So I think that's just the thing. So what we usually do here is this. We would either use something. It's usually we use the key attribute. Now this key attribute, you won't necessarily see it inside your HTML. You will not necessarily see it if you open from your browser. Okay, if you inspect it. Okay, so what I mean is this. If you have key, now this is what React actually wants us to do. Now this key is going to serve as a kind of ID that's actually going to help React understand, okay, fine, this is what has been added to the virtual DOM. Okay, it's going to take from this key, whatever that's passed in this key, as an identifier, as an ID for any particular element, and say, okay, fine, this one was edited, this was not edited, this was edited. So React knows where the change is actually coming from. And React knows, okay, fine, since the change is coming from here, React does not have to go and change everything on the browser DOM, but React to just go and change what was changed. I don't know if you guys actually get the point. You have to only just go and change what was changed on the browser DOM. That way, our app actually reloads faster. It is more optimized, and it doesn't even have to hit the server and come back for those changes to take place. React to make those changes on its own for us. Okay, so one of the ways we could actually do this. Now, the thing is that this key has to be it has to be unique. So the key that this particular card will use, Franklin, I'm a front-end web developer will use, is different from what Justus and a professional DB will use. Okay, so it has to be dynamic. So it has to be unique. So we could either use our name if we have something that's actually unique here, but we could do something. Okay, we could add an ID. Okay, now, and this ID, we just add random strings inside. Okay, so all right, so I think this, and then this too. It's not necessary. Okay, let's say it doesn't necessarily have to be a number. Okay, it could be anything. Even if you put a number there, React convert it to a string. Okay, so whether you put a number there, it just has to be a unique string that is unique to that particular element that it's actually uh, okay. That okay, the number is actually unique. Okay, so it's not a number. It's a string actually. So either whether you put a number or you put a string, we have to convert it to a string and then use it as a string. Anyway, you're saying, okay, so if it uses the key as identifier, so how do we access it later? No, the key actually is not for us. It is for React to use. Okay. Now, it saves the key. Okay, you said, does it save the key as an ID? We could actually save the key as an ID so that we can use it later by ourselves. But when we use it as the key, now the key is actually for React to use to keep track as an identification, as a key card to pass that particular element to the virtual DOM so that React to know what is going on. So that whenever there is a change, React can be able to track where that change is coming from. That is basically the essence of this key. And for this key to work, or for React to be able to know it, no two elements can have the same key in a list. They have to be different. Okay. We don't really have much time. So this and all right. So I think we have less than 5 minutes more. So I think I'll be fast with this. And all right. Now, if you actually come here and add this as person.id now, and we save. Okay, now going back, let's refresh this. Let's see. Now going back, going to console, we do not see any error message again because it has already been taken care of. It's actually giving React what it wants. Now the virtual DOM can actually keep track of what's actually going on. Now, if we open this, okay, I'll open this now and we check the card. Now, let's go back to our history. You see that we wrote this key inside the div with the class of card. But when we come here, we don't see it. Now, that's what I was trying to explain. The key is for React to use. Okay, React is one that's actually going to use the key to know when there's going to be a change in any particular element. Then to now go and check that card now and now know what it should use and what it should not use. Okay, and what it should update and what it should not update to the browser DOM. Okay, I think with that we've actually successfully covered rendering lists. Okay, using JSX. Now, this is actually one of the reasons why React is actually a whole lot more interesting. Okay, so I think let's just take this home with us today. Now, come our next class. Okay, yes, the class is recorded. Yes. Now, come our next class, we would be going through how we could actually, we'll go through components, we'll go to props, we'll touch states, and then if we have more time, we'll now discuss how to, build we'll build a project, a little project with uh, we'll build a little project with React. Okay, let's just see how it goes. But I think for now, this is adios from me. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for your time. Thank you all for your questions. Yes, KodeCamp has always been amazing and always will be. Thank you all very much for today. Okay, so I will see you guys in the next class. Thank you very much. All right.
Let's stop by 10, sir.
Sorry, but the class has to stop now, so we'll keep time for others. Okay, thank you all very